My name is Zac Hill. I'm the taxonomist and plant record specialist here at Juniper Level Botanic Garden. We're going to talk about some early spring blooming native plants. So first, you wouldn't think of shrubs. This is a native shrub. This is Chamaedaphne colliculata. This is native like down Brunswick County area. It's a boggy plant, but it's, you know, obviously related to blueberries and things. It's a heath. But fully evergreen. It was budding up in the snow, and we have, you know, it's covered in these little tiny white flowers. It's not expected this time of year, but yeah, we don't sell it, but you know, it's blooming. It's a good way to start because we've had a really late spring this year because it's been so cold. So what I was expecting we'd be able to talk about here in the garden have not been blooming. So like Trillium, yeah, no, the Trilliums are all still, even ones that should have been up by this time last year, nothing yet. Almost in bloom. This is Cardamine bulbosa. This is a cultivar snow ruffles. It's one that a former coworker and I collected in northeastern Alabama. It's a really nice white flowered toothwort relative. Nicely well behaved, doesn't really run. We offer a couple other cultivars of this that were just selections out of the wild. It'll have lots of little white flowers, and it's a good host plant for falcate orange tip butterflies. They eat crucifers, so it's a good butterfly plant as well.
Looking at your lungwort.
Oh yes. So we're actually going to look at a little native sedge that's in full bloom. So here's a good replacement for Liriope. This is Carex austrocaroliniana, the South Carolina sedge. This starts blooming in early February. It looks amazing all through the winter, nicely evergreen. This is a collection Tony made with myself and Patrick McMillan up in Pickens County, South Carolina. We will probably offer this eventually, but it's got lots of little male flowers, and then the female flowers are on these little stems that sort of dangle out, and then you've got your male flowers up at the top. So, and this looks perfect in the wild. It's a nice 6 to 8 inch tall, about a foot wide clump. Great replacement for Liriope.
You cut it back ever?
This we cut it back a couple weeks ago when we started seeing it flower. We do all our Carex cutbacks generally in February. Because Tony likes to see the flowers. You wouldn't necessarily have to cut it back. It just helps get the flowers show.
Does it spread?
No, that's a nice clump forming sedge. It's not one that runs. It's just going to be a nice, I mean, it may seed around just a little bit around it, but it's never going to be anything that is going to take over. Also, it's not quite blooming yet. We have this Pachysandra percumbens, the Allegheny spurge. Don't let the spurge fool you. It's a boxwood relative, and it's got these really nicely mottled leaves. These were just an amazing thing to see it in the wild. And if a little further down, we have Hepatica acutiloba Monroe shocks. Normally, Hepatica's acutiloba likes it really cold. This is one of Tony's collections that he made in the Mobile, Alabama area. In Alabama, and it is completely heat tolerant, seeds around a little bit. But we've offered that in the past as a seed strain. It's a wonderful spring ephemeral. Also, we have some Dentaria heterophila, one of the toothworts blooming up underneath the lycores. This is another relative of like the bittercresses, and if you taste the rhizome, this one I believe tastes like mustard. It's a mustardy taste, and that's actually in the key, in Alan Weekly's key, between one of the differences between Dentaria heterophila and Dentaria diphylla is one tastes like wasabi and one tastes like mustard. So it's when you're keying something out, it's not just one characteristic. Sometimes even taste comes into play. So I'm gonna walk this way. We do have at least one Trillium blooming now. We have Trillium decipiens. This is a species from Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. It's basically like an underwoodii on steroids. It's much taller than underwoodii. Generally, one of the keys is the leaf is less than 1.5 times the stem length on underwoodii, and will usually be can touch the ground, with decipiens being 2 to 2.5 times. Otherwise, they're very similar in looks, but really nice mottled foliage. I think we've sold decipiens in the past few years. We may have had it this year, but it sold out pretty fast.
Smell that Edgeworthia.
Yes, well, so we've got Edgeworthia here. That's not native. However, we do have a cousin here that is native. This is leatherwood, Dirca palustris.
Totally missed it.
And it's been in bloom for about a week and a half. And it's called leatherwood because you can actually twist and bend the stems and you can tie them in knots. It's a nice deciduous shrub. It's around the Raleigh area in certain locations. It's just a very localized species here. It's normally a more northerly species. It likes some sweeter soil, so more limestone.
We're from the Greensboro.
Yeah. I've seen it up in Western Virginia, like at the Pinnacle Park out by the western end of Virginia, and they had like diameters like this and were about 10 to 15 feet tall. An interesting thing I just saw recently was Tom Ranney's team at the Hort Field Lab up in the mountains grafted Edgeworthia onto this. And we're actually able to use this as rootstock for Edgeworthia. So it's an interesting little native shrub, but unfortunately I do not think it's fragrant. Maybe a little, but it's just an interesting native. We had actually had one here and it died, and then this was a seedling that we just left here right up against the metasequoia.
What did you say before?
It's a metasequoia. It's a dawn redwood. It's a relative of taxodium from China. This was only known from fossils up until I think it was the 40s when Harvard went to China and found trees in China and brought back seeds and shared it around. One of the original trees is at Duke. There's some in some arboreta in the East Coast. It can get to be a really big tree.
Well, some of these along here, I thought at first might be cypress, and then I thought,
No, these
it looks like it's in the cedar family, and then I couldn't figure out what it was in.
This is a clonal row of the gold foliage dawn redwood.
Okay.
Probably the only one anywhere.
Yeah.
But Tony had Pat McCracken, who's here today, graft these in the late 90s, and we planted this row here along the drive. It's a really neat tree.
So they're 30 something years old?
Yeah, they're probably close to that. It's a pretty fast growing tree. And they're in the trade now. I mean, they're quite common, but it's a neat tree.
And it's gold when it's...
The foliage is a bright yellow gold, and then it has a nice brownish gold fall color, and it drops all its needles.
That's great.
And you're left with the cones and the male flowering bits for winter interest.
That is neat.
All right, we're gonna go look at some more ephemerals. Another toothwort, Dentaria heterophila white sprite. It's one of Tony's selections. We've offered it in the past. It's a nice purplish tinge to the foliage where it's blooming. And it's mild mannered. It'll creep around the garden and just sort of form a nice ground cover. So here's another. This is that Pachysandra I showed you earlier. This is Tony's collection from Angola Prison in Louisiana. It smells like sort of clovey, spicy smell. So it's a really nice ground cover that's native. It doesn't grow as fast as the Japanese Pachysandra, which can be quite aggressive.
Yeah.
But it models up in the winter.
Wonderful.
It is a really nice. I like to show people this in the winter because you don't think about fragrance
No.
in the winter.
No.
But we're gonna go sort of that way.
Spread?
It spreads. I mean, this clump is.
It looks a little spreadily.
This clump is almost 20 years old,
Oh.
and we do dig some for production. But I mean, it's never gonna swamp anything.
Like English ivy?
Yeah, like English ivy or anything. It's
Japanese Pakistan.
yeah. I mean, we've got native gingers growing in there. There's a Trillium lancifolium here from Jan Midgley. Some Phlox divaricata, which is the blue woodland phlox that will be blooming in a week and a half. I mean, it doesn't take over. And we have some really pretty pots of this in the nursery right now that are in full bloom.
And it needs shade?
Yeah, mostly shade. It gets a little sun right now. I mean, a lot of spring ephemerals are, even though they're shade plants, they do a lot of their growing when the leaves are not on the trees. So they're technically sun plants when they're up.
Okay.
And they do most of their activity before the leaves even come out. So they take advantage of, they're ephemeral in that nature, that they're fast. They do everything fast.
Yeah.
The trout lilies we'll see in a minute, they've been up about 2.5 weeks. They're in full bloom. They will be dormant by May, if not even late April. They'll have set seed and release their seeds, and then you won't see anything for another 10 months. So it's really a fascinating thing that they just take advantage of all the sun, the ground's warming up, and everything. So we've got a couple other native ephemerals. The bloodroot has just started blooming, so we're going to look at that. You just missed the skunk cabbage, Symplocarpus fetidus. This is a native. I'm not going to get my feet wet, but the flower is right here, and it's actually mostly done. It blooms in the middle of winter, and it's a really neat plant. It's an aroid, but the flower itself creates heat, and it releases this carrion scent that attracts flies, and it's, I think, about 20 degrees above ambient temperature usually, so that the flies can sense the heat, and they go to it and they'll visit multiple flowers and pollinate it. And it's, you know, the plant itself smells like sort of skunky, but this is on the southern end of its range. This is from a friend of ours out in Greensboro that has some native on his property, sort of just north of Liberty. But I've seen it like in Summerfield area. So yeah, well,
We live enjoying this across the line.
I struck gold there. And I'm from just south of High Point originally, so Trinity, Archdale. Yeah, my parents are from Thomasville. So Bloodroot, obviously, Sanguinaria canadensis, is in bloom now.
Yes.
Finally, these are some pinker forms, but a good native ephemeral perennial.
Is this a cyclamen kind of thing?
Where this?
Yeah.
This is more Bloodroot.
Oh, that's more blood.
Yeah, and more Bloodroot. And we also have the native Podophyllum peltatum. This clone is always early. It's up in bud, not quite flowering yet, but really neat ephemerals. So.
That is so neat. I'm just gonna stick it.
So we're going to ignore the galanthus here because we're looking at the other plant here. Ignore the snowdrops. This is Isopyrum biturnatum, also now Enemion biturnatum, false rue anemone. This is native in some sweeter soils just north of Durham and other places. That's where I've seen it locally. This has been blooming for about a month and a half. It will continue to bloom for another month or so. Really nice, native, well-behaved perennial. It seeds around a little bit, but not. No, this is the Enemion. The galanthus is the snowdrops. Yeah, another really neat, not native here, but native to Europe. Beautiful little wildflower. So.
This is another one of the golden redwood.
This is a green leaf form, and then we've got the really large, it's one of the first trees Tony planted that's there. It's just a green form with the euonymus on it. But that was planted in the late 80s. So it's one of the
40 years old.
yeah, one of the bigger trees that was actually planted on the property. So Tony loves metasequoia. We've got probably 15 or 20 different ones on the property. So trout lilies, Erythronium umbilicatum. This is native right here in Wake County. Native actually out in Greensboro. It's
I've seen them in the woods.
pretty common, yeah.
Never in a garden
At the
setting.
bog garden, I can always see it at the top of that.
Oh, on the
So this
top
is
of the
one
slopes.
that grows native.
This is one of the two natives. Americanum's also native, but is a little more scattered in its distribution in the state. When Al Radford, Richie Bell, and Harry Allis wrote the vascular flora of the Carolinas in '68, they only thought there was one species of Erythronium in the state, so they called it all Americanum. This is actually umbilicatum, which has a little belly button on the tip of the fruit. Minor botanical differences with these, but similar habit. Americanum's got a little wider leaf. The petals have auricles on one and not on the other. And Americanum's a little later than umbilicatum, but I've probably got.
So we probably have Americanum.
You probably have umbilicatum too.
We do?
Yeah, I've seen lots of umbilicatum around.
Okay.
Did rescues in the late 90s, early 2000s in the Randleman Dam project. Before they flooded it, found lots of neat toothworts and trilliums and stuff. Behind you is another Trillium decipiens. This is, I think that's an Alabama collection.
The sun lights this perfect now.
Yeah, that's another Florida collection. So, but really nice. The Chimonanthus above you is just finishing flower, the winter sweet. It's a relative of
Which one?
sweet shrub.
Oh, sweet shrub.
Yeah, it's like a deciduous winter flowering sweet shrub with little dangly flowers. So bloodroot flowers last 4 to 5 days, depending. Like you can see, these are fresh and then starting to go over and then almost completely gone. They last longer than their relative Jeffersonia diphylla, which the flowers last a day and a half, or if even a day. Because, you know, if you don't hit it right when it's blooming, you can watch it in bud, and then you blink, and then it's done.
Yeah.
So that's another really neat spring ephemeral. We don't have many of that in the garden. It doesn't really like our climate too well. And you can see the Phlox divaricata in a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. This will be just completely blue and pink and just absolutely covered with phlox that just sort of seeds around, and we allow it to do its thing. This is another toothwort. This is one we'll probably offer soon. This is Dentaria diphylla Burnsville Beauty. This is from a former customer's land up in Yancey County, I believe. This one doesn't really match anything. It's the closest to diphylla, but it's forming a really nice patch, really sort of cut leaves, but a good ground cover for the winter. It will be sort of dormant by June, and it starts coming up in, I think, October, November. So it's a nice winter cover plant. And a couple more things back here. We're on a toothwort kick today, and lots of toothworts doing their thing. And in the garden, if you grow multiple species, they decide they're going to hybridize. Like that's a diphylla laciniata, probably multifida cross. So it's probably a hybrid seedling that decided that it's going to get with another one, and then this little purple, this little guy here, that actually probably does not have a name right now. Maybe a numbered one, but we have some others that are really even more cut-leaved. This is one of our seedlings. This is green snowflakes. Not this, that's a heterophila we need to get rid of. But it's got really, really finely dissected foliage, but not as finely dissected as like dissected Gene Klein or dental floss. They're two of the really, really narrow foliaged toothworts. Yeah, dental floss, because it's a toothwort. And then we have, this is Dentaria, Cardamine Douglasii. This is Southern Lady. This is Jan Midgley selection from Alabama. It's a nice, forms a small clump with these pink flowers. It's just getting started. It'll bloom for about 2.5, 3 weeks. Really well behaved. This is native just north of Raleigh near Falls Lake. I visited a population a coworker told me about, and they were all whites, pinks, dark pinks, all over this one slope. Really, really a neat plant. And we're gonna go right around the corner because there's a not native plant, but I'm gonna show it to you anyway, because it's a Cymbidium orchid. and it's hardy in the ground, and it blooms in February. This is Cymbidium goringii. It's Japanese. It's got these little green flowers with a white lip with little red spots. Fully winter hardy, like a zone 7. This got cut back accidentally, but it looks sort of liriope-like in foliage.
Yeah, it does.
And we've got, and there's last year's fruit. When it's happy, it fruits. But just a really neat evergreen orchid that you wouldn't think would be hardy in North Carolina, but it's absolutely wonderfully.
Yeah, the summer orchid.
Yeah, no, this is a really nice native.
Neat. No, you wouldn't expect it in this.
Yeah, no, it's here. I saw it earlier. I can't. It's not native, but
Cool.
yeah, native is a point in time, not really a place. So.